Hello and welcome to Future Imperfect. I'm your host, Admiral Phillips, and joining me in this episode is Mike Booth Ninja Powers of Altered Geek to discuss the latest news of Tarantino stepping on board to Trek, Star Trek Discovery, and whether Trek should do a total and clean reboot, as well as their thoughts on the Orville. All this and more on Future Imperfect. And this is a specific segment from this show, Altered Geek. So if you're listening to this week's Altered Geek, this will also be on that show. So just letting you know on that. So without further ado, here's the clip. Yeah, I think we're going to go to Star Trek Tarantino. Even though I kind of touched on it last episode a little bit, I didn't get many other people's opinions on it. So,
I am, well, just since you shared yours, I will just come right out and say, let me preface this with saying I have not read an article. I've seen the headline, and all I can say is I'm down for this. If only because I don't know, like, okay, the state of Star Trek as it stands right now, I don't see how this hurts the property.
It already hurt itself a long time ago, so.
And that's what I'm saying. Like anyone that I feel like anyone that looks at this is like a bad thing for Star Trek. Like Star Trek hasn't been Star Trek since like what?
2005.
Like Voyager and Deep Space Nine.
Even Enterprise wasn't that bad. I've recently gone back and rewatched it all, and it actually fits with continuity.
Right, I liked Enterprise. Don't get me wrong, I liked Enterprise, but I'm just thinking like good Star Trek is what considered to be like it ended with Voyager,
pretty much.
Deep Space Nine,
Voyager,
so. The franchise, you know, I don't have a problem with what he's with whatever he would want to do, and the fact that they want to make it rated R. I think that is just. I feel like that's okay. I feel like that's two things. That's one, not trying to pigeonhole Tarantino into any one thing. Okay. Because it basically gives him
free reign
to tell whatever story he wants to tell. Okay.
Because the rated R could mean it doesn't necessarily mean it could just mean something as simple as like extended violence and explosions.
Yeah, I mean it's whatever the MPAA wants to make rated R that week. So, you know, it could allow him to produce a movie that isn't like he could start trying to film a movie without having to worry about restrictions being placed on him. Okay. And I forget what the other side of that was going to be. Or it could also just be them trying to capitalize on the whole like rated R craze that's going on right now that we saw with Daredevil and Logan.
Deadpool.
I meant to say Deadpool.
Yeah, which is what popularized the whole thing.
Right. So it could be them trying to like capitalize on that with this franchise, or it could be like you said, maybe he's trying to do what was it, the Future Imperfect stuff, or the alternate universe.
Well, I'm wondering if he could be doing the mirror universe.
That's what it was.
And I could see Tarantino pulling off a really good mirror universe because he usually does a lot of dark characters. Granted, I'm not a fan of anything he's done, so. I think that kind of impairs my judgment a little bit.
I mean, I like the portrayal. I like what he's able to get out of his actors. Like, and I'm not like, for example, Christoph Waltz. I really like him in Inglourious Bastards. I can watch the scene where he's eating the slice of pie across from the female protagonist, and he's just eating a pie and having a conversation with her. Mm-hmm. Like, I can watch that scene like I would watch Brandon Routh catch a falling airplane in Superman Returns. like, and I get the same joy out of just watching that scene. Because I think it's a killer performance. So I think that's what, when I'm always intrigued by what Tarantino can bring, what he could do, because I might not go like, oh, his movies are amazing, but I like what he's able to get out of his performances.
Yeah.
And for and I feel like he does characters really well, and I feel like that's kind of what like I like, with the exception of Into Darkness, I like the most recent. I enjoy the most recent Star Trek movies.
Yeah, Star Trek Beyond actually was really good, despite people. I
I,
think
I
I think it got bad rap because Into Darkness was so bad.
see. I like Beyond. You and I talked at length about Into Darkness, and I didn't really have a problem with the original Star Trek.
No.
Um, so like, but they're not you're getting characters that are just like, the actors are just playing the characters that came before with subtle little twists on them.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think it would be interesting to see, just see if Tarantino can breathe life into actual Star Trek characters that aren't just trying to pay homage to
What came
an
before?
earlier cast. Yeah.
See, this is my soapbox at this point, because I've seen, and I don't know if you've watched Star Trek Discovery or not, but I'm at this point now with Star Trek that I wish that they would stop trying to reconnect it with the original continuity
Mm-hmm.
and the original shows, because it had a specific look, a specific feel, a specific writing style, whether it be in characters or everything else, and certain aesthetics that they all had, kind of uniformity between all of them, even through Enterprise. And when you got the rebooted J.J. Abrams, bright, shiny, more explosions, more space opera, Star Wars than classic Star Trek, I feel like the pendulum for it switched, and they should have done a fresh, brand new crew, brand new ships, brand new, just reboot the entire universe, start over from scratch, not, giving them free reign to not have to carry over any element of the original, and tweak it however they saw fit for the new generation that's out now, so that they aren't trying to pigeonhole themselves and fit into this continuity of stuff from the last 50-some years.
I agree with that 100%.
Because I feel like, and this is my pet peeve with Discovery, is there's so many glaring plot holes, despite their saying that they're going to explain it all, of not only technology differences, but aesthetics. And they claim that there's this massive attention to detail that it's going to fit with continuity, but it takes place 10 years before the original series. And the Klingons have this totally different aesthetic, which looks nothing like the stuff from Enterprise or the original series or anything that comes before or after. And then they've got all this super high-tech technology that's in the show. Doesn't matter what starship. It's just they're all super high-tech, which dwarfs everything, even in the Next Generation through Voyager and Deep Space Nine timeline, which is 150 years later basically. And it, like I said, it takes place 10 years before the original series, and they show The Cage, the episode, the original pilot with Captain Pike, and their technology looks like it's way older than what we're getting in this show. And so, like, I just find so many continuity issues. I don't know why they chose to do a prequel, but I felt like I go into the show watching it, pretending it's not in continuity, it's its own thing, which helps me enjoy it in a different light than sitting there trying to fit it into the continuity of the show.
I get that. And I agree with you again that it should not have, it should be its own thing. It shouldn't have been a prequel. Um,
Because on its own,
and
it's fine, and they have Netflix behind it. They have the all access. They don't have the they can. It's mature rated. I'm not particularly fond of what they did with the Klingons, and particularly it was the mid season that they had like nude Klingon, and I was like, okay, I didn't really need that, but like I
well,
get the language, like they whatever, they can do what they want on that, but I
I
felt
feel
the other
like,
was distasteful.
I don't know. I feel like we've talked about this before about what this was originally supposed to be, which was an anthology series. It
And
was,
they've essentially done that because they've got chapter 1 and chapter 2 for the season 1, where it's two different story arcs because they wrapped up story arc 1 and they've started story arc 2 now, but it's the
no,
same
see that,
crew.
no, see that's not any different than what Agents of Shield did for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, and
Where
I wish that they just wipe out the crew every
it,
season and then start over.
yeah, to me, an anthology series is something like American Horror Story, or it's something like True Detective. Like it is completely different character. American Horror Story does it by bringing back the same actors portraying different characters, which is fun because you get to see the acting range. Um, but like True Detective did it by, they completely changed it up, and I'm not gonna trumpet on, share, talk about, whether or not True Detective season 2 was any good or not. But like it, that to me, that's what an anthology series is. It's two seasons of a show that have nothing to do with each other than title. Like they're not linked in any way. They can be set in different time periods, but we've talked about this. We've beaten this.
Yeah,
This is a dead horse between you and I.
yeah, and that's why I kind of wish that they would have just done like like the Department of Temporal something, just so that they could have had maybe somebody like even in Enterprise, Agent Daniels, like follow him around or something.
Is all of Discovery going to be on Netflix at any point?
No, it's going to be on CBS All Access exclusively. In the United States, in Canada, and it's going to be on something else. I think they've got like Space Network, and then everywhere else it's like Netflix. But I
Oh,
believe
you know where else it is?
where,
BitTorrent.
yeah, I know. And I
I don't know. I can't. There's
I
no
will
way
not
that
pay
I.
the $6 or $10 a month for their stupid app to watch a show that should be on cable.
No, no. See, now I said earlier that my wife and I have started. We subscribe to Hulu, we subscribe to Netflix, and we
See, that's
subscribe
different.
to HBO.
You
But
get
like,
you get a grab bag of different networks
right. But I also
content.
said that we also like we will cancel a subscription once we're caught up on something. If we can't find anything to watch, we'll like cancel it until like the next season of Westworld comes out or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have to. If there's nothing for you to watch, or you've already binged everything there is to watch, there's no reason for you to keep paying, $8, $10, $15 for a service until the next season comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. I'm not. I can't. I'm not willing to cancel one of my services right now just to sign up for, CBS All Access just to watch Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, I'm the same boat. I and honestly, it's not that good to be like. I mean, to be honest, it's not. But I don't feel like I'm getting solid performances out of the actors. Like, I mean, there's they have elements where they are, if that episode's specifically written for that person.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the characters feel flat if that happens.
Well, that's what you want out of a show, right? You want flat characters.
Yeah, and and like I said, they still haven't. They're like, oh, we've got 10 years of continuity that we're gonna make it right before the original series kicks in, and I'm like, you still haven't explained how things started out looking totally different. Like, it's I don't know. I just have so many issues with the show. It mars my ability to watch it without having this tedious eye to examine every aspect of it.
I'm grabbing the first few episodes of it right now.
I have the first whole chapter 1 of up to the mid-season if you want it, but
no, I got it.
I will say the first 2 episodes, while they matter, the 3rd episode is technically the pilot because the first 2 episodes, it basically sets the premise for chapter 1, and like for the whole, up to mid-season story arc, but it's irrelevant essentially up to episode 3.
That's nice.
They're just dragging like emotional baggage. So, and there's such flip-flopping on how the characters are portrayed between episode to episode. It's a mess, but I'll discuss that with you after you've seen more of it.
So the flip side real quick though, my wife and I have been enjoying Orville.
I love the Orville.
That has been pretty fun. I don't know how many episodes we're behind. I don't remember the last one we saw, but that one has been very, like I said, both my wife and I have enjoyed that one.
How far up have you seen it so far?
I would have to look up an episode guide to tell you. I think we've seen like, how many episodes have there been?
There's 12 in season 1.
I want to say we've maybe seen 9.
Okay. It sticks pretty good, and I feel like we get more of Star Trek out of it with more of a modern touch, but it's got the very much the writing and the aesthetic and the feel of like the Next Generation.
Yeah,
but it doesn't take itself too seriously either.
Yeah, I will admit I was shocked by the level of material that they're willing to cover. What is it? The second episode they talk about basically the gender situation.
Yeah, and then they talk about the social media like judging people just based on an inconsequential thing.
Yeah, I
mean he hits some pretty heavy topics, which kind of reminds me of the Next Generation.
Yep.
And they've even, you'll see more of it as the season progresses and as it finishes out. But I'm glad it got a season 2, and I really love that show. It's kind of my. I feel I'm getting my Star Trek fix by watching it, but I'm also getting like a few like natural laughs just based on the writing and the way that the characters portray the jokes. Yeah. Like I don't feel like it's a forced laugh when I'm watching it. I'm genuinely like kind of like busting out laughing.
Right.
So I don't feel like it's pandering to me at all. So it's very entertaining to watch.
Bringing it back around though, I don't think Tarantino directing a Star Trek movie is a bad thing. So that's where I come down on that one.
I'm not entirely sure yet, but I'll wait and reserve judgment. I know he did pitch an idea to J.J. Abrams, and they have who then passed that on to Paramount, and they have a writing staff, like a think tank.
I almost wonder how cool would it have been if like they didn't say he was going to do a Star Trek movie. And they just shot a Star Trek movie. They put a trailer out there, and that's when you first heard that it was directed by Quentin Tarantino.
See, I think that would have. I honestly, I think that would kind of take care of a lot of the people's opinions of certain directors if they just shot stuff and stopped telling people everything.
Yeah, like because it's like you.
Because you have this preconceived notion on directors and writers, like right off the get-go.
Exactly.
I'm guilty of it. Like,
and I don't think. The other reason I'm really interested to see this, I don't think Tarantino's ever done a science fiction.
No.
movie. That's the other reason I'm interested in seeing this. Um, and what if it's not even like a starship?
Well,
Like,
I've heard rumors that, and granted, they wanted to bring Chris Hemsworth back as Kirk's dad and do a time travel piece, but I've also heard that he wants to do like a time travel type piece with it, which, that's not any different than anything in Star Trek as it is, because they do a lot of
well,
time travel. But
I mean, if you think about it, come on, let's think about this logically, right? The Star Trek 4 is the time travel one, and this would be the fourth. Could technically be the fourth Star Trek movie in the new reboot. I
yeah,
mean, they did Wrath of Khan for 2. Why not do a time travel one for number 4?
well, they did time travel in the first one.
That that's not the same thing, and you know it.
They went back in time and altered history.
That's not that's not the same thing as the story for A Voyage Home, though.
I know. That was kind of a different take that I thought was kind of unique.
So,
But yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with it. I mean, after I've come down from my, outrage last week.
but it's probably like the whole Ben Affleck being
Yep.
Batman announcement
Yep.
thing. So I think
It's settled in now.
Tarantino's yeah, I think Tarantino's a guy that can do something really interesting with a property that doesn't even know what it is anymore.
Well, and I think that uh, I would much rather see. They can't do any worse than what Abrams did in Into Darkness between his writing staff and himself. Like I honestly I was pleasantly surprised by uh, Beyond, and so like it if they can keep going in that direction of doing new stories, new totally. I mean, because that was completely original.
Hmm.
There was nothing drawn out from that. Out of continuity, like they don't even have any of the ship that they commandeered took place just before Enterprise.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was very fitting that they kind of went in that direction. So I'm fine with it at this point.
Wouldn't it be weird if Tarantino ends up being the one that gets, excuse me, Star Trek?
You mean gets it back on track?
Like, no, he gets it. Like he understood. Like he's the one that understands what makes Star Trek Star Trek. He's the one that
Oh, that knows how to make it tick again.
that understands what everybody is,
Lacking.
what all the nerds are clamoring for. Like he understands what's missing from everything that's been released so far. Wouldn't it? I feel like that would be like really, really weird.
That would be weird, but I think that would only cement his future with the franchise.
I feel like anything he's gonna do is gonna be a one-off.
Yeah, I feel like that too. Which is unfortunate, but like, maybe we could get a Star Trek movie and not even in any particular continuity, but have it as like a one-off, like Logan.
Yeah, like why can't your movies be anthologies like the Star Wars stories?
The only difference
Like,
with the Star Wars ones is, yeah, they're a one-off, but they still fit in continuity somewhere.
yeah,
Whereas Logan doesn't. Like, I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Like, I would like to see him do, if he's going to do one, do like maybe a mirror universe film. Do it with it, and the funny thing is Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard, said that he would love to work with Tarantino. What if they did a mirror universe, the Next Generation film?
I mean, I'd watch it.
I mean, I would watch it. Most of the cast, I mean, they're very aged at this point, but I think
But
they
that
would all
just
be down
means you
for
give
it.
them a really cool starship.
You give
That's
them a
all
cool
that is.
starship and give them really good characterizations.
What is it? You give them the Enterprise E for the F word, or the Enterprise F for the F word.
Yeah.
That's what they get.
For the they do that for the mirror universe version, and then the regular verse they have the Enterprise E still.
Yep.
Yeah, I would be down for it, honestly. Like I think that that would be interesting because the next generation, other than comics, is the only one that hasn't had a mirror universe.
Yeah. I'm down for it.